Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome into the Back to 12 podcast. I am RC alongside Lyle. And Lyle, let's get the pleasantries out of the way because there's a lot to talk about, right? We're about to go into the bye week. People want to hear more about your takes than mine, so I'm going to shut up. But first and foremost, I have to ask you, how you doing, my guy?
Oh, as always, man, blessed to be in your presence, presence of greatness every time we get on the podcast and,
He's
kind of
talking
get
about
to,
my dog, people, because he
you
saw my
know,
dog walk by
I
earlier.
kind of get this Skip and Shannon, Shannon Sharp type feel for the podcast. But, this is blessed to be in the presence each week that we get to do another podcast. Is a blessing because I know, CBS, ESPN, I know what they're about. I know what they're looking for. So just blessed to make it another week, man. How you doing, big guy?
I'm good. I'm good. We're by the way, for everybody that doesn't know, Lyle and I are officially microphone twins.
Mhm.
So that's pretty dope. Yeah, I'm doing all right. The weather's slowly changing. It's starting to get into those perfect Texas weather months, you know?
No, it's not RC. It's cold. I
No,
gotta have 3 jackets on at practice. Not liking it. Not liking it at all. Could have
is
stayed
it
in
cold
West.
out there?
Yeah, could have stayed at West Virginia for this. I came here for the heat. Bottom
How
line,
cold are we talking already? Because it's not cold here.
it's probably 60, man. 60 is a little cold for me.
Oh, okay. I got you. I got you.
Rain,
I
you
thought you
know,
meant like actual cold.
nah, that's freezing, brother. Below
Okay,
60
gotcha,
is
gotcha. There's levels to it. That's me.
yeah,
We'll get the verbiage down for next time. That's
yeah,
all.
no
That's
doubt.
that's 100% my fault.
Anybody that
Um,
knows me knows if it's a game, you ask any teammate I've ever had. If it's below 60, I will have coverings on my face, feet, everything possible. I got in
that's
trouble
why he
many
was
times.
wearing long sleeves for 90% of his games at Texas Tech.
Yeah. Leach said I was soft, and I have to agree with him. But I can't play with the cold. Can't play.
I mean, there's worse things that you could be as a football player than soft with the
I don't
cold
know.
anyway. You know what I mean?
Coming from Mike, that's tough. That's top
It's
notch.
the weather though. You know what I mean? Like he's not calling your game soft. He's calling just you as like a, hey, you can't handle the weather soft. And that's fine.
I
Okay.
don't know.
That's fine
I
in my
don't know.
opinion.
Mike don't play those tight games. He don't say stuff he don't mean. It might be, it's motivation as well. But you never want to see
I mean,
Mike. You never want to see Mike upset, call you soft, and it's another word I can't say on the podcast. But those two things you don't want to hear from Mike, man.
well, I'll say this. You played a lot for him, so he obviously respects you enough on the field to put you on the field, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with the podcast people because we're family now. Got in because there wasn't that many receivers, but hey, I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna roll with it.
It worked out. It worked out for
Yeah,
both sides, it
yeah.
seems, in the long run. So on today's podcast, we'll preview Oklahoma State a little bit, look at inside the numbers of the Cowboys, who, I mean, you have to have them as the favorites to win the Big 12 right now, with the way they're looking. And then Lyle and I will give a position grade or a letter grade to every position for Texas Tech as we approach the bye week. And I'll ask you a question too, Lyle, because I have just my Twitter mentions have just been flooded. And before we even get into Oklahoma State, let's do this. Let's get this question out of the way. Do you think there should even be a thought of a change at quarterback?
No, we had this. I'm a firm believer in what I'm saying. Like, is there a couple decisions that may be made better? Yes, but is there a difference in the score at K-State with any quarterback that we have on the roster? Absolutely not. I think Kansas State, and like you said it. I want to apologize to our podcast family. Um, I thought RC was tripping, but he was right on point. And I think the key to it on every team, I think the biggest thing people fail to realize is how important the quarterback position is. And K-State's quarterback is freaking good. And if you look at the NFL, if you look at anything, the best quarterbacks, always their teams do the best. That's why in Heisman, it's usually the quarterback position that wins it. And or not yesterday, last game, I thought they were better, but I thought that quarterback position is what makes them better. He made decisions a little better. He made plays on his feet a little better. And I think that comes with, first off, him just being a little better, a little older, a little more experienced. But what I do want to say on that is he also has some guys around him that are pretty freaking good as well. So I think that's the two things at quarterback that a lot of people fail to realize. Yes, it's all on the quarterback. Yes, how good your quarterback determines how far you go. But you have to have good people around you. And I say, how good was Graham? One of the best quarterbacks I've ever played for. Now, if he didn't have Danny, Crab, Shannon Woods, Baron Batch, offensive line that gave up 1 sack, would he have done all the things that he's done? I don't know. But I think that's the part that people fail to realize is that quarterback is important, but people have to go, they have to come along with it, just like the Mike Leach system. I hate when people say, well, the system makes them good. Well, Mike Leach has been on teams that haven't been as successful. What's the difference? He's doing the same system. They go hand in hand. You have to have good players in your system, and you have to have the system that helps your good players. And I think that's the part right now that people get confused on. And if you're quarterback, you're going to take those. You're going to take that responsibility. Whether you win, it's on you. If you lose, it's on you, and that's
on you.
part of the position that comes with it. But I can't put that all on Donovan, man. I think that these guys got to step up and help them. I've always been taught as a receiver and thought, hey, if the ball's in my area, it's my job to make it happen. And, a play comes to my mind. I forgot what receiver that was, hit his hands, dropped it on a crucial third down, fourth down. I can't remember.
There's a couple of them that pop into my mind.
And so those guys got to step up and help them. And like I said, we tweeted talked about that guy. There's guys in his face. It's different. I encourage anybody that thinks that Donovan is just every decision. I encourage you to go stand behind the line and let 6'5", 230 to 315-pound guys run at you while you standing there and make that throw. Yeah. And if you can do that, I'll be quiet. But I know me personally, when I broke the huddle with those big fellas, never went back in there and had no intention to. If I caught the ball, I'm running to the sideline and sideline only. But what's your thoughts on the game?
I don't understand the hate. And we've had this conversation before, and you admitted you were wrong on Kansas State. I can admit I was wrong on Donovan. I think, and I was part of this group not too long ago, but we got to stop it. There's a reason that these coaches have not played Baron Morton. There is a reason for that. And I hear all these people saying, oh, well, you got to trust the coaches. And then literally their next tweet is, we need to put Baron Morton in. He deserves a chance. He's like, you can't have it both ways here, So I'm not saying Baron Morton isn't practicing good, but there is a reason that Donovan Smith is QB1. And really, when you look at the situation that Tech is in, you're telling me it's a good idea in your mind to throw a guy out in his first collegiate start against arguably the best defensive line in the Big 12, whether that's Kansas State or Oklahoma State. This has been going on for a couple of weeks now. That's just not a good idea. If you're going to make a quarterback switch, wait till after this game. You got a bye week, and then you get to face lowly West Virginia, at least thought to be lowly West Virginia. But to me, it just makes no sense at this point. I think you just got to roll with the ebbs and flows of Donovan Smith. He's a roller coaster right now, but he's had this weekend in Stillwater will be his 9th career start.
And not to mention the last 4 have been top 25 teams.
Yes, and I'll tell you this, Lyle, this is the crazy stat too. He has 8 career starts. 6 of them are against top 25 teams. He's 4-4. If I would have told you that he would be 4-4 in his first career 8 starts, right, and 6 of them were against top 25, I think the realist would have taken that, considering Texas Tech's history, right? Like, you tell me 4-4, yeah, sign me up, man. And that's not including Murray State, by the way, where he took a majority of the snaps, but technically he didn't start the game. So this is just strictly starts. So technically he's 5-4 if you want to say he played the majority of the games. It's just, I don't know. I'm getting frustrated by it. It feels like one of those things now where it's just like, hey, okay, we've presented people facts with what's going on. You can interpret them how you want. But it's also, you're not doing this kid justice in terms of what you talked about, where the wide receivers aren't separating. The offensive line is played like trash. And I'll be blunt about it. It's just because let's talk about their performance. I'm not talking about them as people. Again, find that line, right? But that performance has been trash on the offensive line. The guy that you thought was going to be your stalwart on the offensive line has arguably been your worst offensive lineman in Caleb Rogers. Weston Wright hasn't been good. Now, I'll be honest, I attribute some of that to the injury. It is hard to come back from ankle injuries when you're a big guy. Lower body injuries are tough, really when you're a football player in general, but especially if you're a bigger guy, right? But there's no excuse for how bad the offensive line has looked at times. And now that's not to say Donovan, as you mentioned, hasn't made mistakes, because God knows he's made mistakes, right? Like he's going to make mistakes. He is a young quarterback. But to say that he hasn't proven enough to get the benefit of the doubt right now is just ridiculous, in my opinion. The guy played a perfect game against Texas. He's the reason you won against Texas
and Houston.
He's the reason. Like, you could argue if you lose that Houston game, he's the reason you lost it. But he didn't lose you the game because he came back and bounced back, right? So, and Lord knows I was the one that was calling for his head during that Houston game on Twitter. But I think that's the thing that really bothers me the most. And we'll swing into Oklahoma State here, because you kind of look at what Texas Tech is going up against, and this is by far Donovan Smith's biggest test yet. And really, it's the biggest test for this offense in general, because this team is, I mean, just all kinds of legit. They're top 7 in the country in terms of third down defense. They're top 3 in the country when it comes to tackles for loss. Again, I don't think this is the best defensive line you'll face all year, because I think that was Kansas State. But Oklahoma State is right behind them. I mean, just right behind them. And I'm curious to see how they approach it, because if you give Donovan time, I think you can actually beat this young Oklahoma State secondary, Lyle. But the problem is he going to have time to throw the football? And is the wide receivers going to separate enough for him to throw the ball?
Right. And that's the thing too, is the biggest thing we used to use kind of on some insight of, from two things I want to say from the inside of a student athlete. I wish people would understand it's a lot. It's a lot when a guy is, like, we see that as athletes. We see the stuff that's being said. We hear the stuff that's being said. So for a young kid to continue to have confidence when I don't want to put a number out there, but just say 50% of the fan base, 50% of the people don't believe in you. It's tough. It's tough to go out there and keep the confidence and do what you're supposed to do. And then on a second note, it's perspective, from the quarterback receiver standpoint, it's perspective. Me and Taylor Potts, quarterback in high school, quarterback in college, went to elementary together. I feel like we're pretty close. He was in my wedding, I'm in his wedding. We're really close, but I think people got to understand perspective. I mean, that's the thing, as a quarterback, in his perspective, the receiver may be open. To the receiver, in his perspective, he may not be open. And so they got to connect on those. It's always different perspective views. In the quarterback's view, he sees a window. And you got to think about a receiver is looking back at the quarterback. He may not see that same window. It may be an offensive lineman in the way. It may be. So it's a lot to that when we say separation and we talk about that, but people got to understand there's a lot that comes within that. And do I think the receivers need to do a better job? Absolutely. No question. I've said that since the beginning of the season, but you guys have to understand when we talk about perspective, there's a lot of things that go into that perspective. Is the offensive line in the way? Are they blitzing? Do we have to keep the running back in because they're blitzing and we're not able to help? It makes a difference in the offense. I don't know if a lot of people understand. When you send that running back out, he counts as a blocker. So if they're blitzing somebody, you should hit that running back and he counts for that block. If you keep him in, it's the same scenario. It's just what do you want to do with it? But when they're bringing more people than we can block, has the offensive line been bad? Yes. But sometimes they're bringing more people than we can block. If they bring 7 people, there's one person we cannot block, and the receivers have to. Yeah, the receivers have to be able to get open, and it's a certain amount of time, and whether they're getting open, I think people fail to realize they may have got open at the end, but Donovan's got a free guy running off the edge. He's got to make a decision quick. Those guys have got to win quick. So I think if, in this offense, these receivers, man, is the biggest thing to me that has got to do better. Now, our run game hasn't been the greatest. I think, but that goes back to the receivers getting open. Same thing I tell my high school boys. If you're a receiver, you young receivers out there, I'm putting you on game. I should charge y'all, okay? But I'm gonna put y'all on free game. Blocking is not for the running back. It's for you. The more you block, the more you allow the run game to open up, the more they have to put people in the box, and it allows you to have those opportunities. But I will tell you, that's the difference, though. If you're asking me, these guys and my team in 2008 when I played with those guys, difference is you're not singling up Crab. You're not singling up Danny Amendola. You're not singling up Eric Morris. You're not singling up Detron Lewis. You're not singling up those guys. So I think that's the thing that we're battling right now. Yeah, these D lines are fantastic the last 2 weeks, but like you're saying, the secondary, we've got to win. And when a defensive coordinator feels comfortable enough to sit back and blitz and play you one-on-one and not have any problems, that's a problem, you know. And I think we've had in the last couple of weeks, one guy have over 8 receptions besides the first game. I don't think, I could be wrong on that stat.
Yeah, no, it was Miles Price. Yeah,
That's it.
what,
10
11
catches.
catches or something like that?
Yeah. And so those guys got to understand we have to have a guy. You have to have a guy that's gonna do that. And I think that's the greatness that people don't even see about Crab. And I love Crab. It's my brother. If you ask me, I'm gonna tell him I'm better than him because I love him. But on a serious note, he took 3 people off. So there's 3 people guarding him. Somebody else has to win on that other side.
No doubt.
Once they win, it opens it up. What do you do as a DC? Okay, we can't triple team Crab because this guy's getting open. So let's single it. Okay, we'll put more people out so we can run the ball. We run the ball. Okay, we got to put people in the box. We can't double Crab. Crab beats us. So it's a team effort. And like you said, man, it's just the D line is their strength, but everybody's got to do their freaking job, from blocking that receiver, from blocking that O line, to running hard, to making those catches. And I think that's where we failed so far, but I hope I give a little insight when it comes to the game and what people see as receivers. If you ask a receiver, is he open? A lot of times he's gonna say, yeah, I'm open, coach. You ask a quarterback, was he open? You say, he wasn't open because of the window. But they're seeing the whole field. As a receiver, you're locked into your position.
Sure.
And I think, one thing that Crab gave me on game, and another thing for you young receivers, y'all know I love receivers, just understanding. I don't know how much they understand. I don't want to say they don't, but one of the greatest things Crab told me is understand the coverage and what they're doing so I can get to the spot that I need to be faster. If I know they're in a certain coverage, it helps me. I'm a small guy. I was 160 in the Big 12, smallest receiver ever, according to Coach Mitchell, our DB's coach at the time. But I understood. Crab helped me understand, hey, I know where they're going to be so I can get there faster. And I think those are the things as receivers that will help them a little bit. I don't know if we're the most athletic, fastest, best receivers, but that doesn't matter. I'm living proof of that. So I think it's just understand those games. These guys got to figure out a way to really understand. I know they watch film, but the difference is, are they really watching it at the receiver position? Others, you have to at O-line. You have to, because there's so much that goes on. But at receivers, how are you watching film? What are you watching film on? I'd be interested. I know Coach Emmett is a great coach, but I'd be interested to sit in that room and say, hey, what are you watching? Like, we watched, me, Crab, Danny, we watched. How does he line up? Every time his right foot's up, he's going to try to jam. Every time how in depth are these guys going? And the coaches do watch film, but you got to take a little initiative on your own to know. I knew as a small guy, I know as certain dudes, if they put certain foots up, certain arms up, I had to be ready, because if their hands is on me, I'm going to the sideline. So I think going in debt and understanding would help these guys and help kind of neutralize that defensive line, because, I mean, to be honest, you can only do so much. I had a coach tell me that all the time. It's not the X's and O's, it's the Jimmies and Joes. And, do the X's and O's matter? Heck yeah. But I stand on the Jimmies and Joes, Tom Brady living proof, man. It doesn't matter what receivers he has, what running back he has, he's going to make it happen. So I think though, at the college level, you've got to get those other folks to kind of jump in there and dig deep in there and kind of dissect the defense as best as you can.
No, I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think, I mean, with the way football has changed almost in a way, as a wide receiver, you have to know almost as much as the playbook as the quarterback, right? Because you're so involved. And you talk about the blocking aspect of it. I think of this old baseball analogy that my coach used to tell me, because it was right up my alley, because let's be honest, Lyle, I wasn't great at baseball, but I played anyway. If you can field the ball, i.e. if you can block, if you're a receiver, you're going to be on the field a lot more, i.e. that gives you more opportunities, i.e. it gives you a chance to play more and actually produce and do what you want to do. But first, you need to do the dirty work. No one really likes to field in baseball unless you're just that freak athlete. You know what I mean? No one at the wide receiver position likes to block. And I'm not saying this is all on them, and I know you're not either. It's just, to me, that one of the biggest concerns probably behind the offensive line at this point is just how little they separate. And you put me onto that after the Murray State game. I remember we talked about it before we pressed record, and you were like, man, because I thought the wide receivers looked good. And you were like, no, Murray State they look bad and they could easily separate. But you went in saying, let's see how they separate against Houston. They didn't really separate against Houston. So it's one thing that I've noticed. And now another thing that I noticed against Oklahoma State is this. This is, again, we've talked about it. If Texas Tech wants to win this football game or have a chance to win this football game, they have to capitalize on this bad Oklahoma State secondary, right? So you look at it, Texas Tech is 4th in the FBS in passing yards per game, 362.2. Oklahoma State's passing defense is ranked 122nd. They allow nearly 300 yards passing per game. Now, the problem is they get to the quarterback better than almost anybody. And that's the big deal here. And you look at kind of who Oklahoma State has played, and it's not world beaters by any stretch of the imagination. I think the best team that they played is Baylor on their schedule. And now I'm not trying to say Baylor's bad or anything, but the other teams that they played are bad. It's just true. They played Central Michigan, gave up 44. They played Arizona State. Shout out to Herm Edwards. They did you dirty out there, my guy. And then Arkansas Pine Bluff. Like, they played bad teams.
Yeah,
like they played some bad teams.
I told you that Baylor was not going to be that good. I told you from the beginning, because that's usually how it goes. There's not many teams that go back to back.
Hey, but they still threw for 345 yards on them. Like, yeah. Baylor doesn't even have to be like good. I think it's as long as you can just give Donovan, he's going to get hit. Let's be real about it. It's going to happen. It's college football. Even in the pros, quarterbacks get hit. But if you can limit it to what we've seen, like, perfect example, if you can do what you did against Texas, just as an offensive line, you have a substantially increased chance to win. Now, what does that increase actually look like that's substantial? Like maybe 5%, 10%, but you need all you can get in this game because your history in Stillwater is not very good, and your track record of winning against ranked opponents on the road in general is just not very good.
Right. But I think too, like, we're 4th in the nation, but everybody got to put it in perspective. Like, we threw it 48 times. The game before that, we threw it 50. You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing. Like, Donovan threw 48 times. It's going to be interceptions. It's a thing about Tech. If you do the fast-paced offense, your defense is going to give up points. That's a part of the game. So I think people got to realize for 48 times to throw 2 interceptions, that's pretty dang good. So I think that's the part that people fail to realize. Like, we're throwing 50 times. Of course, we're going to be just because we're in the top 4 doesn't mean we're top 4. It means that we're throwing the ball more than K-State threw the ball 19 times last week. 19. We threw the ball 3 games for K-State if they do the same thing in that aspect. So I think people got to understand we're throwing 48 to 60 times a game. That's a lot. You're going to throw interceptions, people. Understand that you're going to throw interceptions 60 times. There's no one. Tom Brady throws 60 times. He's going to throw a pick. And so I think people got to understand when it gets, what they're giving up when we do that. But like I said, it's we throw 60 times and we got our biggest dude is nine catches, which wasn't bad last week. 9 catches. Next up is 6. Like, I would dream, like, we threw the ball a lot when I was at Mike Leach, but we didn't throw it 60 times. And I just want to put in perspective the difference, like, as a receiver, if you get the ball 130 times, Crab had 130 catches. Credit to Crab, credit to Graham. You know what I'm saying? He had 130 catches. Yeah. There's Detron, 1 year has 70 catches. 60 catches makes a difference on your stats and on your touchdown. Yeah. So I think the perspective on that is, yes, we are moving the ball, but we're throwing a lot. So what comes with that is it's gonna be that, and we're giving the D-line more opportunity as well. So it goes both ways. And same with our defense. 37 points last week. How many times we're on the field though? A lot. And that's just a part of it. So if y'all want to see the high flying offense, understand that's what's going to come with that.
For sure. No, yeah. And we're going to transition into the position group here. But before we do, Lyle, give me a prediction for this game in terms of scoring. Um, that face says it all right there. I'll say mine. We talked about it a little earlier. I'm going to say 34-21 Oklahoma State.
I'm gonna go 42-28.
42-28 Oklahoma State. Okay, that's fair. I can get behind that. So let's transition into, we're about halfway through the year now at this point, right? Like you're going into a bye week. Probably the most perfect time to have a bye week if you're a player. Honestly, it's like, okay, I'm literally halfway through my season. Like I can regroup, get my grades in order for a week if I need to, whatever it may be, right? Just like kind of reset my mental kind of deal. But let's talk about the position group grades. And we don't need to, I think, spend a lot of time on a lot of these because I think it's pretty self-explanatory. So let's start out with the quarterback position, Lyle. A, B, C, D, F. What's your grade overall for Texas Tech in the quarterback position so far through 6 weeks of the year?
I'll probably give him a B minus.
B minus.
Yeah, probably give him a B minus.
I can get behind that. I actually had the same thing. So I'm right there with you. I think, you see the flashes. We talked about the roller coaster with Donovan Smith, right? Like the Texas game, awesome. First half of the Houston game, awesome. But then you see what he can do against Houston in the second half, and you're like, outside the final 2 minutes, and you're like, whoa, like that's not good. But that comes with being a young quarterback, and a lot of different various elements that come involved to creating a good offensive environment for a quarterback. So I like B minus for sure. Running back, what do you got, Lau?
I'll probably give those guys a B.
All right. I don't like how we're just in sync right now because I literally have my grades already down and you're literally saying the same thing as me. Did I share this file with you? I hope not. I'm trying to keep this where we don't know each other's grades, but no, I'm right there with you. I think that honestly, running backs, I think I would have put them at an A. The problem is that the offensive line is just not giving them enough opportunities to succeed.
I blame that on the receivers. 110%.
Okay. Fair enough. Speaking of the receivers, what grade do you give the receivers?
D. And that's
a
being
D.
nice.
D. Wow. That's coming from a guy that played the position. So there you go. I gave him I didn't play the position like you. So I gave them a C because I think that I've seen flashes where it's like, okay, you separate, but it's very inconsistent. And I think that there's a couple of guys that I'm excited about in the second half of the season, mainly Trey Cleveland. They got to get him the ball more. What he's done in terms of his downfield verticality, in terms of expanding that defense and maybe making it a little bit easier for Donovan or whoever the quarterback is in those tighter windows since the wide receivers aren't separating. I think he can take the top off the defense a little bit and make it a little easier. But you mentioned it a ton. The wide receivers, they need to improve. And your eye, everybody should trust your eye far more than mine.
Can't
That's
have
for sure on that
flashes
front.
in this type of offense. People dream to be in this offense. Can't have flashes. You got to make it happen.
Fair enough. What about tight ends?
I'll probably give them a A minus.
A minus. Wow. Okay. I can get behind that. I actually gave them a B. So I think we're kind of in the same area there. You know what? You talked me into it. I'll give them a B plus, Lyle.
Yeah. I just don't think their opportunities have been a lot. So I think
they've had to be blockers.
Opportunities. Yeah, but I think they've done a good job.
All right. So the big one, offensive line.
I'll probably give them boys a C.
A C. Wow. Okay. I gave them a C minus. So we're on the same page. I thought we would go a little bit lower there, but if I'm being honest,
because like I said, to me, it's all connected. Running backs.
Fair enough.
They got to make sure they're getting their blocks. Receivers got to get open. It's like a car. If you got no wheels, it doesn't matter how new it is. You got to have all pieces.
All right. So let's talk about defensive line.
A plus.
Oh, same. But I don't even think we need to talk about that too much. That was my biggest question mark on the defense. And right now, Lyle, they are the best position group on this team. I don't think anybody can debate it. All right. So A plus for both of us on that front. What about linebackers?
I go with the B minus.
I went with a B. So we're in the same neighborhood there. I think those guys, Eldridge has really stepped up. Yeah.
Right. But when you have a D line like that, you should be thriving as linebackers when you have a D line like that. And they've been doing well, but I don't think they've been thriving like they should. You get
Yeah.
Jordan Brooks back in there with the D-line like that, it's a problem. It's a problem.
Yeah. We are talking about a first-round pick, though.
That's true. That's true.
What about the secondary?
I'll probably give those guys probably a B- as well.
Okay, I gave him a B. So we're on the same page most of the time
I
here.
feel like
I think go ahead.
Go ahead. I just feel like the best we haven't been able to tame the best receivers. We talked about it in each week. They've done well, but the number one guy receiver, which is hard to stop, but I feel like they've got what they wanted each week. The best guy has had 100 yards and done pretty well. Now the others they've shut down, done well, but the best guy, I think they've had some success against us. How you feel about it?
I'm kind of the same way. But I also think that when your defense is put in bad situations in modern college football, your secondary is the unit that's going to pay for it most.
That's true.
That's just what's going on right now. The game I think about is NC State. NC State scored, I believe, 4 times against Texas Tech, and they started 3 of those scoring drives in Texas Tech territory, right? And they held up, and they only gave up 1 TD. So it's like, okay, you played really, really well, but your offense kind of really didn't give you a chance because of the pick 6 and just field position and everything. So I think that the secondary has been a bright spot. I think really just the defense as a whole, the job that Tim DeRuyter has done has been phenomenal, quite frankly.
But I do want to say, too, it's just like with the Legion of Boom, Richard Sherman was that guy while he had the linebackers, the D-line. Everything goes hand in hand. So those guys are making plays, too, because of that rush. When Richard Sherman left, people started picking on him a little bit when he left, when he didn't have that D-line linebacker. So understand, I'm giving a B- because a lot of that they're doing is because that D-line is causing pressure. When they have to get the ball out quick, it makes you a better corner when you got to cover for 3 seconds minus 7 seconds. So that's credit to those D-line, too.
For sure. Let's round it out. Special teams. What are you giving a grade for there?
I like Coach Perry, so I think he's been doing a good job. I'll probably go with the A- for those guys.
You went with the A-. I went with the C+.
You did?
Yeah, I just don't think that they're I think they got to get better at securing punts. There's been too many bobbles and stuff like that. But I can get behind the A logic as well. I think the kickoff and the defensive side of special teams is
we've
a
won
lot
2
better.
games, and I think we've won some games due to field goals, field position.
Fair enough. Yeah, I didn't even think about it from the kicking standpoint, which I probably should have. So yeah, I'll raise mine from a C+ to, let's go solid B. Solid B. I think that's more than fair. That's going to wrap it up. We'll have it over on YouTube in terms of the grades. Check out in the description if you want to check those out. He's Lyle. Lyle, where can they follow you on Twitter?
Coach LLEONG. And you can follow my main man RC at
RCMB323. We'll be back next week. Be on the lookout for daily Texas Tech videos on here. I'll be also posting my Twitter spaces on here as well, so you can come back and listen to that. He's Lyle. I'm RC. We appreciate you tuning in right here to the Back to 12 podcast channel.